Welcome back to NFL Live on a Monday, and here we go with the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb back in Dallas against the Commanders after missing the last 3 games of the ankle injury. 1st and 10 in the first quarter. Dak Prescott launches it deep. He says, welcome back, CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb, an all-pro caliber wide receiver. You add him to what Dak Prescott was already doing, and you knew it was going to be explosive, and it was to the tune of 44 points on this day.
Cowboys extend their lead 17-8, 49 seconds left in the half. Jaden Daniels taking it in himself for the touchdown, so Commanders down 20-15. Now the next Cowboys drive, 31 seconds left in the half. Can they score before half? Well, yeah, they can, because now there's George Pickens down there.
It's an unbelievable throw. He just dropped that in a bucket. That was basically a handoff down the field. Pickens is amazing, of course.
Later in the drive, 15 seconds left in the half. Prescott finds Jake Ferguson in the end zone for the score. Jerry loves it. Cowboys take the 27-15 lead into the half. Just under 8 to play in the third quarter. Same score. Cowboys 1st and goal at the Commanders 5, and Prescott finds Ferguson again for the touchdown. They would go on to win it 44-22. Here's Dak Prescott after the win.
Who knows what we can accomplish? Like, the sky is the limit. We're just going to stay focused each and every day at getting better, growing our connection. I guess that's just the next step, right? Is just continuing to communicate to one another and, just keep growing.
I mean, they looked good. Why was the offense at its best yesterday?
They're just so balanced. And this is kind of what we thought it would look like when they traded for George Pickens, which is a defense. What do you do when there's 2 elite wide receivers on the field? Well, you play a lot of coverage. So you get a lot of light boxes, and Javonte Williams averaged 11 yards per carry running into light boxes. It's a joy to watch this Cowboys run game right now. They're not really adding extra bodies to the box. It's just the offensive line. It's mostly inside zone. But they're just removing guys at the line of scrimmage. And then because he's running into favorable looks, he's able to get chunk yards on the ground. Right now, the Cowboys offense gives you so many things to stop. It's a difficult problem for any defense, much less a defense like Detroit or Washington, that had struggled to stop the run.
The survey on Dak Prescott is when he has a run game, he's a cheat code. We've seen this before. This is how he actually became the starter in Dallas, by having a big physical offensive line, Zeke Elliott, and pushing the ball down the field and surprising people. I love the cachet that he's playing with, the confidence, moving the football around, not getting caught up in how many balls does CD need, how many does George Pickens need. Dak is like, I'm throwing it to the dude that's open, and the way the play is set up. But this run game, to me, it's the near and dear to my heart. Javonte Williams has kind of reemerged as the guy we thought he would be when the Denver Broncos drafted him. This is one of those examples of the big play after the George Pickens throw that you see Javonte Williams. But to your point, Mina, it's because of the light boxes. It's because of the threat of y'all hearing me hoop and holler about, please go get another wide receiver since we started doing NFL Live together. And this is a manifestation of that. And I also want to give Schottenheimer a lot of credit. Dak only threw the ball 30 times in this game, and Javonte rushed it 19. It's a balanced offense. They are trying to establish both phases of this offense, and that's why they're having this amount of success.
And I know I'm supposed to get to this Commanders defense, but this was also like the most predictable matchup of the weekend that the Dallas Cowboys would have success. But to me, what was most disappointing was that when they were in position to make plays, they didn't. Right? Marshawn Lattimore, time and time again on the deep ball, not being able to make a play, whether it's giving up the catch or a pass interference, that's never going to deter an offense from continuing to throw the football at you, and then opportunities to just make open field tackles. The one thing about this team is schematically they are scratching and clawing and trying to find a way to be near the football, but when they are, it doesn't matter. And what I love about what Dak Prescott did is, like, I believe CeeDee Lamb missing games was a blessing in disguise because it gave him an opportunity to develop a rapport with George Pickens. Now we've seen Ferguson reemerge as a red zone threat, and you add CeeDee Lamb back into it, and he's right back to being an all-pro caliber wide receiver. Dak Prescott is playing at an MVP level, and if they could get a little bit of defense, a little bit, they'll be difficult down the stretch.
Oh, my goodness. Well, some more good news for Cowboys fans. The team opened the practice window for DeMarion Overshone, who hasn't played yet this season. So that could be massive. Right? We'll keep an eye on that. All right, new on NFL Live. Dan Quinn just spoke about Jaden Daniels and his status moments ago. Adam, what do we know about this?
Well, Jaden Daniels underwent an MRI today, and the good news, Laura, is that Dan Quinn said it did not show anything significant, and it's not considered a long-term injury. However, it is uncertain whether Daniels will be able to play next Monday night against Kansas City. Clearly, Dan Quinn did not want to say much more than that. I still think it would be a surprise watching him walk off the field yesterday if he were out there next Monday night. If he can't start, then Marcus Mariota would. And one other note there, Dorrance Armstrong out for the year with a knee injury. Meanwhile, the Baltimore Ravens returned to practice today. They were out there, but Lamar Jackson was not. And so in their first post-bye practice, Lamar Jackson, who missed the last 2 games with a hamstring injury, still was not out on the practice field as the Ravens began preparations for Sunday's game against the Bears. And the Las Vegas Raiders now head into their bye week. Maxx Crosby yesterday hurt his knee during the course of the game. It's not considered serious. They have a off week for him to get well, so that is the encouraging part for a Raiders team right now that is reeling, that is struggling to find answers. They ran only 30 plays on offense yesterday, and now everybody needs the bye week. After the bye week, they are expecting to get back both Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, that'll help a lot. I saw Pete Carroll today was saying, yeah, I liked what we were doing when people were healthy. So they could just get some of those guys back and make a big difference.
Cowboys Nation, if you followed this team long enough, you can feel when something big is in the air. And right now, that feeling is back in Dallas. The whispers have started, and this time, they're surrounding a name that sends shockwaves across the NFL, Maxx Crosby. The relentless, iron-willed edge rusher from the Las Vegas Raiders might just be the next superstar Jerry Jones takes a swing at. And if you've watched how the last few weeks have unfolded, the Cowboys' uneven defensive play, the Raiders falling apart under Pete Carroll, and the rising noise around a possible rebuild in Vegas, this rumor doesn't feel far-fetched anymore. It feels like an inevitability. Let's start with the facts. The Raiders are 2-7, their season already teetering toward collapse, and their new regime looks more lost than locked in. Head coach Pete Carroll, brought in to bring stability, is now staring down the barrel of a potential one-and-done campaign. The franchise is broken in more ways than one. They're banged up, inconsistent, and heading into a bye week after being dismantled 31-0 by Kansas City. Amid the wreckage, Maxx Crosby limped off the field with back and knee issues, injuries that tell the truth about his season and the weight he's been carrying. He's been the only pulse in a team that's flatlined, and that's the kind of reality that forces difficult conversations. Crosby's been the heart of that Raiders locker room for half a decade, the warrior who doesn't miss snaps, who plays through pain, who refuses to quit. But now, the body's showing wear, the team's showing cracks, and the writing is on the wall. If Las Vegas decides to finally embrace a full rebuild, the first domino to fall would almost certainly be their most valuable piece, number 98. He's their only all-pro caliber defender, their emotional anchor, and their biggest trade chip. And if a team offers the right package, something like 2 first-round picks, the Raiders might have no choice but to listen. That's where Jerry Jones comes in. For weeks, insiders around the league have repeated the same message. Jerry is open for business. Dallas is 3-1, sitting in striking distance of the NFC East lead, but the defense has been a liability. The pass rush lacks bite. The swagger that once defined this group vanished the moment Micah Parsons was traded. Even with James Houston flashing brilliance and Kenny Clark holding down the middle, Dallas needs something bigger, something that changes the math on third down. And there are very few players alive who can do that the way Maxx Crosby can. If you've watched Crosby play, you know exactly why he's special. He's the rare combination of technical precision and raw fury. Every snap is personal. He plays like a man who's been told no his entire life. Drafted in the 4th round out of Eastern Michigan, he turned himself into one of the most dominant defenders in football through nothing but obsession. Obsession with detail, with conditioning, with finding ways to win reps that shouldn't be winnable. In an era where effort alone isn't enough, Crosby's effort is legendary. Now imagine that kind of energy under the lights in Arlington. Imagine that motor, that tenacity, that hunger wearing the star. That's the picture driving this rumor. The idea that Jerry Jones could trade from his stockpile of picks acquired in the Micah Parsons deal to bring in a proven game wrecker. It would be the most Jerry move possible. Bold, dramatic, headline-grabbing, but also deeply football sound. Because if you strip away the hype, it just makes sense. Dallas needs an identity again. The defense that once scared coordinators now merely challenges them. Quarterbacks aren't feeling that immediate panic when they drop back against Dallas. A player like Crosby changes that overnight. He's not just a sack artist, he's a tone setter. He collapses pockets, destroys timing, and makes quarterbacks uncomfortable in ways that ripple through an entire game plan. He leads the NFL in quarterback pressures over the last 3 seasons combined. And when you watch the film, his impact jumps out even when he doesn't get the sack. He forces hurried throws, bad decisions, turnovers. He makes everyone around him better. And Jerry knows how valuable that is. Remember, this is the same owner who once turned a struggling team around with the Charles Haley trade, another dominant pass rusher who came to Dallas hungry and angry. Haley helped deliver 3 Lombardi trophies. The parallels aren't lost on the Jones family. Crosby is that same kind of player, relentless, emotional, unrelenting. The kind of defender who doesn't just play hard, he elevates the entire standard of toughness inside the locker room. The Raiders situation makes all of this even more realistic. Their front office is stuck between pretending to compete and admitting they need to tear it all down. Crosby's contract is massive, a monster extension, as it was called, and while he's worth every cent, it's the kind of deal that doesn't fit on a rebuilding team. And if the back and knee issues linger, it gives Las Vegas even more incentive to offload him now while his value remains sky high. Dallas, on the other hand, has the flexibility to pull this off. The Cowboys still own 2 first-round picks, one from Green Bay, and a roster young enough to absorb a star salary without gutting the future. The Micah Parsons trade created both a void and an opportunity. Jerry has hinted that he wants to use those picks to be flexible in season, which, translated, means if the right star becomes available, Dallas will swing. That's why you're seeing these dots connected, not because of wild speculation, but because the logic lines up perfectly. The Raiders need to sell. The Cowboys need to buy. The timing works, the cap works, the personalities fit. Of course, there's risk. Crosby's playing through injuries, and he's logged thousands of high-impact snaps in just a few years. But for Jerry Jones, risk has never been a deterrent when the payoff could redefine a season. And make no mistake, acquiring Maxx Crosby would redefine this season. It would send a message to every man in that Dallas locker room that the front office still believes this team can win now. It would tell the fan base that mediocrity is not acceptable. It would tell the league that Dallas is swinging again. Picture it. Maxx Crosby in that silver helmet with the blue star, lined up next to Kenny Clark, feeding off the crowd at AT&T Stadium. The noise, the energy, the return of fear. The kind of defensive front that makes quarterbacks look over their shoulder before every snap. Crosby and Clark on the same line would give Dallas something they haven't had in years, a 1-2 punch of power and persistence. It would transform a defense from passive to punishing. But beyond the numbers and the splash, there's the intangible factor that makes this rumor so compelling. Maxx Crosby plays football the way Cowboys fans love football to be played. Hard, physical, emotional, unapologetic. He doesn't care about flash. He cares about impact. He fits the Dallas identity to its core, blue-collar toughness wrapped in star-level talent. That's why this isn't just a fantasy headline. It's a story that feels right. It's the kind of trade that restores belief. It's the kind of trade Jerry Jones has made before, the one that comes out of nowhere and reminds the league that the Cowboys are never quiet long. As the Raiders sink deeper into chaos, as Dallas steadies itself in the NFC race, this story will only get louder. Maybe it's smoke, maybe it's leverage, but if the phone rings in Las Vegas and Jerry's voice is on the other end, you can bet the entire league will stop what they're doing to listen. Because a trade for Maxx Crosby wouldn't just be another headline. It would be a declaration that the Cowboys still believe, that Jerry Jones still swings big, and that Dallas isn't content with just making noise. They want to make history. So Cowboys Nation, what do you think? Do you send those 2 first-round picks to Las Vegas to bring the Condor to Dallas? Do you gamble on greatness one more time? Drop your thoughts below. Tell us if you believe Maxx Crosby could be the missing piece that restores the Cowboys' defensive pride. Hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned right here at Cowboys Nation Report. Because if Jerry Jones pulls this off, we're not just talking about a trade. We're talking about the rebirth of a defense, the revival of a legacy, and the fire of Dallas football burning bright again. Cowboys Nation, rise up.